So Freedom Day, many people are celebrating, many people are not. It's been 29 years, can you believe it, since South Africans of all races made their mark in the watershed elections. 19 political parties, by the way, if you remember that, were on the ballot paper. They were snaking queues, hours and hours, filled with happiness and jubilation, many people having very high hopes of what was then a new South Africa. And now, don't be too jaded, try not to be too jaded, but looking back, nearly 3 decades later, do we celebrate? Can we be happy with where we are? Thankfully, it's always a pleasure to have sculptor, poet, writer and academic, Professor Pitika Ntuli, joining me to give me his thoughts this morning. Happy Freedom Day to you, Prof. So, are you celebrating? Do we celebrate as a country? Good morning. Prof, let me stop you. I think we might have gone back onto mute on your side. Let's maybe unmute the button and let's start again. Morning.
Yeah. I'm saying it's a mixed in a bag. On one level, we are celebrating the symbolic end of apartheid, gaining our right to vote, our right to our own property. But then, as the time went on, we betrayed that very dream of our founding fathers and mothers. When you look at the issues of rising unemployment, very poor people, beggars, on the road, it makes you really ask yourself as to whether have we done the right thing.
So, if we were to look back all those years ago and we spoke about this new South Africa, did you get any sense whatsoever? Because there were problems. It's not just problems recently. There were problems back then as well. There was a new government coming in. There was a political party that obviously had not ruled before. They were new to national government. Did you get a sense, Prof, even all those years ago, that it was going to be as bad as it is today?
No, I mean, definitely I didn't think that it would be as bad as all that. When I speak personally, the 33 years actually in exile, what was I doing there? I was dreaming of a place where people are going to be very happy, the issue of housing, the issue of education and health, and all of those very basic things that human beings actually needed. That's what we were fighting for. We are fighting against the issues of anti-racist, not non-racist, anti-racist. Black and white people were involved in it. But on a personal level, I'm happy to think that 2 months ago I received an award for a best artist from CakeNet, which made me feel that the younger people are here, ready to accept the issue of our togetherness and building a nation. It's those little small things that seem to be very insignificant that shows a spark that this betrayed in a dream, When you look at queues of people queuing for their 350, old people, when you go on a till in a shop, counting old copper, things to buy a loaf of bread. That cannot make anybody with a conscience and with a sense of love for human beings, relaxed and happy, and they say that, okay, viva, Freedom Day.
Where should the focus be this Freedom Day? I'll tell you why, Prof. You just made such a good point that it's the youth we need to look to. And the youth, I like to think of the youth as 30, 35 and younger. If we use that maths, many of that age would have been too young to vote in those 1994 elections. Certainly the 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds of today would have been too young to understand or even around on that historic day. Do you get a sense that the youth really understand the power they have when it comes to the voting and the elections coming up next year? Do they understand, do you think, the power that they hold?
I used to be a deputy vice chancellor for student affairs. During that time, students were very active, very much alive. Like during the Freedom Party? Where is the ANC Youth League? Where is the Aplawat? Where is the Student Command? Even within the political parties themselves, the youth are silenced. They are absolutely not there. And whereas, going back to what Fanon had said, each generation must, of relative obscurity, discover its mission, fulfill it, or betray it. We know what the generation of the 1920s in our country had done, going to the Soviet Union to fight for the Black Republic. The one of the 30s was talking socialism. The one led by Lembede in the 40s brought culture and economics on it. The one of the 50s led by Mandela defied unjust laws. Those of the 60s paralyzed the country that led to Sharpeville. The 1976 fought on the issues of language. Then the one of the 80s rendered the government ungovernable. Then of the 90s, then I'm disappointed, very grossly with the youth.
Prof, just before I start saying goodbye to you, there's a lot that we can criticize. Of course, we were out in Klerksdorp earlier. There was a small informal settlement, a Jacaranda informal settlement, not too far from where the president and the government's going to be celebrating Freedom Day. The residents there saying they have nothing to celebrate at all. But do we have anything to celebrate this Freedom Day? How deep down do we have to dig to find something positive? Is there anything that stands out for you that's positive?
I mean, what stands up, for us is that we always have got a recourse, to our, our constitution. We have also got some strong kind of civil society organizations and very good people with good hearts, in them. There may really be, few, but Jesus Christ started with 12 apostles, and now today has got billions of people. So we cannot afford the luxury of despairing and losing hope.
Prof, thank you very, very much. I hope you have a wonderful Freedom Day, whatever it is you might be doing. I know you made time for us this morning, and I appreciate that on a Freedom Day. Always good to hear from the poet, writer, academic, sculptor, of course, Professor Pitika Ntuli, joining us here on eNCA.